6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If you've never been a teacher and you talk about education and schools, the only reference point you have is as a student, right? And I've never been a teacher, but I've sat in a class watching teachers, and when you realize that everybody learns differently, it makes it really impressive, and you get more respect, I think, for the job that a teacher has to do, because the only other experience you have is just yourself as a student. You know if you were good, you know if you were bad, but think about the teacher has 30 or more sometimes kids, from every different background, and every year a different group of kids. Luis Mazzullo is on the phone. He wants to talk to us about the philosophy of education. That's the title of his book. We're going to find out how to get the book in just a moment. I could not find it, so I'm not sure what to do here. Luis is a New York City and special education teacher. He's an examination specialist. He's been doing this for over 30 years, so great respect for what Luis has done. Good morning, sir. It's an honor to have you on our show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Where are you right now? In the city?
I'm in my office in Yonkers, New York.
In Yonkers?
Just north of New York City.
Yeah.
45 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Did you get a lot of snow the other day?
We did. It came unexpectedly. Right about 3 o'clock, we got about 6 inches of snow and unprepared ice. People were stranded for hours.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Rob and I were watching it on the news. It's crazy. It looked like you got it, the Bronx got it, but lower Manhattan didn't get it.
Correct. Yeah, but it's just one of those things that very hard to predict. Everybody wanted to blame somebody, the meteorologist.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard, yeah. We heard that on... we were watching WPIX on the internet. That's how we know.
Right.
So tell me about the book. I could not find it on Amazon. Is it available on Amazon?
It certainly is. You have to spell my name correctly. Louis. Last name Mary, A-double-Z as in zebra, U-double-L-O. And it should come up.
Okay.
It's been on Amazon for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. But I know there's another spelling. There's someone with a similar spelling.
Okay.
And that sometimes can be a problem. But
so
the book is definitely available on Amazon.
Is the book for teachers or for students or for educators that are instead of teachers, maybe principals? That sort of profession.
Yeah, I think the book is for anybody who's really interested in either philosophy or education. Ideally, I think it would be suitable for a course in college on philosophy of education.
Okay.
But also, I think that anybody who's interested in education can find something there that will be of interest to them. There's different chapters. The last chapter is more practical, and I do get into philosophy in the early chapters. But I think if you read the introduction, I think that it addresses a lot of issues that people can identify with.
So the one question I've always had about teaching and how you all do it is it seems like it would be a different challenge for, let's say, the foreign language teacher versus the math teacher or the history teacher. It seems like some things are, and this is, again, I'm just from a student's perspective, it seems like some things are memorizable and other things you have to learn how to do something, and so that seems like it would be more than one philosophy.
Well, there's a lot of things that you're touching on. For every discipline, there's a certain factual base that you need to know that is memorizable, and then there are skills that you need to know and concepts, and you need to be able to take the information and use it to have knowledge. Knowledge is really the information that you can put together. And some of this you can memorize, the factual stuff you can memorize, but the conceptual stuff needs to be educated, I think. And a lot of this you can learn from the teacher and also from your fellow students. If you have a good teacher, for example, in social studies, a lot of things will come out in discussion.
I want to tell you something, and I don't know that things are the same in Florida as New York, but we grade our schools in Florida, and I know there's a reason for that. But the problem is, I think, that when you have students who don't do as well as other students, then the school gets a bad grade, and so what consequently happens is that the schools will shift students so that the bad students go to another school. So, and
a terrible problem.
Yeah. So in a way, it seems like we need to teach the teachers how to teach. And if you're working with special ed kids, you must have some insight into this very problem.
Well, this is how I begin my book, really addressing this specific problem. If you look at the name of our last two educational initiatives, No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top, it's a recipe for disaster. I can say unequivocally that the model is failing. It's not the students who are failing. It's not the teachers who are failing. Not the school systems. Not the states. The system is failing. The system is a recipe for students to be left behind. If you have a race, only the fast runners win the race.
Yeah.
The slow or the average runners do not win the race.
Right.
They know it, and they give up. And we're judging schools by one standard.
Oh my
so
gosh.
the student who's an average runner or a slow runner, he might be terrific in art or in music or in gymnastics or in mechanics, but he doesn't count. He's left behind, and the school is left behind. You have teachers who look at the kids who are coming in from the upcoming year, and they can already assess how many will pass and how many will not pass.
Yeah.
And we're not judged, even within that, we're not judged on how much progress the kids make, but only by those who pass the test.
Oh my gosh.
So if you have So if you have a student who goes from a 40 to a 50, that doesn't count because 60 is passing.
Yeah. Oh, I love what you're saying, and I've thought similar, but I mean, obviously, you have your finger right on the pulse of this problem. So, tomorrow, right, Robin? We have the superintendent of our local school system coming into the studio,
Dr. Mayer.
So, Robin said your book is arriving today, so she's going to get the book tomorrow. We're going to give it to her.
Yeah.
She's a smart lady, though, so maybe she's already got some of this stuff. I'm sure she's got a lot of background as well. So what would you do? Can I ask you to maybe help the average person who's not a teacher just for a second? How does the parent of the special needs child or the special ed child help in like a collaborative with the teacher? How do we as parents help the teachers?
It's an absolutely terrible problem. We've got to recognize first of all what the problem is. That your child, your student, might be terrific in a field, but he might be a slow or average runner, and he's not going to win the race. We've got to convince parents and educators that life is not about getting into the best college. Life is about finding out what you're good at, what you like to do, what you can do, and finding a way to translate that into a satisfying job, lifestyle, etc. It's a difficult problem, and you're fighting a system that does not reward differences, that does not reward uniqueness. You know, our system is the best and the brightest. We put those together as though they're always the case. Well, the brightest aren't always the best. The brightest might be selfish individuals. They might be terrific kids, but they might be selfish individuals.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Is it, in your opinion, this is a political question of sorts, but I mean, is it your opinion that we should have a person at the federal level that oversees education, or should it be left to the local districts, or something in between?
Yeah, that's a great question. If it's the right person at the federal level, terrific. I think that we probably historically that has not worked very well, in my opinion. I think that we have to take a look at our communities and see what our community needs. I had an experience the other day. It was about a year ago when I was returning my tuxedo to a store in Queens, and for my daughter's wedding, and the man was doing all the jobs himself, and I said, "Gee, can't you get someone to help me?" He said, "I can't get anybody to help me." I said, "There's a high school right down the road." The fact that we have not been able to translate our needs for workers into jobs for high school kids is terrible. All the kids in high school, so many of them, all my kids work through high school. So many kids have vocational skills, are interested in working, but we denigrate blue collar work. We denigrate trades.
Yeah.
So it's impossible for this man to go to his local high school and find workers who can help them. Meanwhile, a lot of these students, if a student is 16 years old and they have no high school credits, many of them need to work. They want to work. They may go to college later on, but not everybody has to go to college, and certainly not everybody has to go to college right after high school. There are jobs available, and we're not meeting our needs. So I think that on a political level, we've got to realize that we have an untapped workforce in our high schools that we're not using.
Yeah.
And a lot of these students these are the ones who are left behind, and these are the ones who could be contributing in many ways, and there's no reason why they can't have a vocational/academic program. But we just do not value blue-collar work.
Absolutely. Well, you are speaking the truth.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to get the book. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is the best conversation I ever had with somebody about what we need to do about our education system.
Thank you.
How do you identify the students that have... Okay, let me ask you this way, because I was going in the wrong direction the way I started. When I was a kid, there was no such thing as videos. And now you hear that kids are learning, and I've done this myself too, and I'm 64 years old. But I mean, you learn from video. Some of us learn better by watching a video, and that wasn't around back in our day, but it is now. Is that incorporated into the whole education process, or is that considered like extra somehow?
We haven't really figured out the video business yet. I saw an interesting article. All the people in Apple, all the executives in Silicon Valley, Apple and Google, they don't let their kids go on screens at all. So I think that the whole use of screens to learn needs to be taken a look at. I have a lot of trouble with online courses, for example, in literature. The whole point of literature is to find out what you have in common with others and how you differ from others. It involves a discussion. So I don't know quite how you learn To Kill a Mockingbird online without getting the feedback back and forth. So I think videos have their place, but I think they're probably overused, and they're certainly not a substitute for a discussion. You need to stop the video here and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I think that we haven't figured it out yet completely, but I have a lot of trouble with the overuse of videos. I think they probably are overused.
You talk about morality and how important that is to have this open conversation between teachers and students. Larry just had a story this morning about a teacher in high school that put his a cell phone in a 17-year-old girl's changing room so he could see her naked.
Oh, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Students have absolutely the right to privacy, their bodies, their thoughts, their sexuality. That is an area that we must revere and honor. And anybody who violates that, that's a sin, in my opinion, as well as a criminal act.
Exactly.
Does the philosophy of education, the book, does it deal mostly with the up through 12th grade, or does the philosophy apply in the higher education?
It applies all the way across. I mean, morality is certainly an issue that I talk about, and I'll like to talk about it just for a minute, since I guess Robin brought it up. I think that the problem with morality is that we've stopped teaching religion in the schools way back. Public schools cannot teach religion. Well, the problem is, and I think that's okay, when you take a brick out of the wall, religion, all the other bricks get a little bit weak. So people are afraid of morality because it's so close to religion. But morality is something that we all have to deal with. And it's really has nothing to do with religion. If you want to bring religion to it, that's your opinion. But morality starts off with, how do you want to be treated? And then if you have the right to be treated a certain way, then you have the responsibility to treat others that way. And kids really respond to this. They really understand this. They want to be treated with respect. What does that mean? Then you have to treat others with respect. What rules can they come up with for how to get along in school? What's legal? What's moral? What's the difference between the two? And I think we just neglect that whole topic is neglected. And it shouldn't be.
And you also bring up social studies. I mean, are school systems falling short about not incorporating social studies in the schools, or?
Yeah, social studies is a real problem. And if I might, I think the problem with social studies is that it's the whole model. It needs to be taken a look at. I'm just going to give you when I find it, just for 1 second. I'm going to find a quote. It's always funny to go back because so many times we think we have something that's modern, but it's not. This is 1979, National Council for the Social Studies. Quote, "The basic goal of social studies education is to prepare young people to be humane, rational, participating citizens in a world that is becoming increasingly interdependent." And that was like almost 39 years ago. Mm-hmm. But it's absolutely relevant today. If you look at the rationale by educators for a public school, one of the goals always was preparation for participation in a democratic society. We are falling way, way short of that. You can graduate, you can be a valedictorian and not be able to tell me what is gerrymandering, what are the three branches of government, what is a democracy, how is a democracy different from a republic?
Right.
Kids do not vote, they don't participate in the government. Civics is a lost subject. It needs to be brought back. Kids need to have student government. They need to be educated as far as the responsibilities of being a student in a democracy are concerned. And I believe in social skills. Social skills are extremely important. And this is really getting into the heart of my book now, because I think that speaking and listening skills need to be taught. We emphasize reading and writing. That's fine. I love reading. I love writing. But after a person speaks, the first 15 seconds, you've already formed your judgment of that person. You watch the presidential debates to decide who you want by how that person speaks. So you teach kids, and I've done this, you teach kids to say, "I beg your pardon." Mm-hmm. And it's like magic, the power of those words. "Excuse me, thank you anyway." You have to teach kids how to speak and how to listen to each other. And then once you have that as a model, then I think you should look at social studies through the lens of social skills and see social studies as the history of how people have gotten along with their neighbors, how they've had their needs met, how they've had conflicts, how they've resolved their conflicts. You know, you can think of so many examples. To me, the one that works now, because it's relevant to a lot of students, is football players kneeling for the national anthem.
Yes.
Let's have a discussion.
Absolutely.
About that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a discussion about that.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And having a discussion would also help us, the rest of us, know what exactly is going on, because a lot of these things, what happened with the Occupy Wall Street. I mean, we really wanted to be empathetic. We really wanted to know what was going on, but I couldn't get on the phone. I called up some of the people. I got some numbers from some of the friends I have up in New York, and we had just people at random trying to explain to me what they were doing. They had no clue. They were just there. They were just there.
Right. Yeah. It's students are amazing. People, we don't talk to them enough. They've got all kinds of ideas. They know which teachers are good, which teachers are not good. They know what subjects are important, subjects are not important. Yeah. They turn off. Once you have a student who's turned off to something, forget it. Like math. I mean, I can talk to adults. If I tell an adult, by the way, I want to teach you. Let's play a math game. No. You know, once a person's turned off to the subject, they're turned off to it.
Yeah.
And students have all kinds of ideas on how to structure the schools, what rules should be allowed, mm-hmm. what privileges they should have. Yeah. And we don't talk to them enough.
Well, I like I said, I'm really enjoying the conversation, and I really appreciate what you're saying, and thank you for doing this. Okay, let me tell the listeners how I just found the book. If you're looking at the streaming video, I have the cover of the book finally on the interview. Usually it's there the whole time, but I couldn't find it. So I just typed in your name with the space, space Mazzullo in Google, and it brought me right to the Amazon page. It was the first listing. But yet on Amazon, I put your name in there, and then nothing came up. And I put in the title of the book, nothing came up. So
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So
I'm sorry about that.
Amazon needs to get some lessons on how to do this. But you could find it if you just Google Lewis's name, and then it'll bring you to Amazon. So I have a copy of. I don't have a copy of the book yet, but I have the picture on the podcast that we're doing.
You talk about different facilities for the students. The one you point out is residential placement facility.
Okay, so when I went on Amazon, I just went on Amazon. I put my name in Louis Mazzullo. What comes up is Louis Mazzullo, and then it says, "Do you want to search instead for Louis Mazzullo?"
Oh,
so I said yes.
Oh,
okay.
And there it pops right up. So it's the spelling of the name. There's a Louis Mazzullo who's kind of bumped me off.
I see. You are absolutely right. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So there we are.
I see. Yep.
I'm sorry, Robin. You had a question about?
Oh yeah, you speak about residential placement facilities.
Well, yeah, these to me are really the students who are left behind. Nobody, the state doesn't, at least in New York, they don't know how to count these students because they're a residential placement and they don't know that they belong to this district or that district. And that's where their concern is. The students who the reading scores, where do they count? Where should we put them? So they're like they don't fit any place. So what I did was I put together. What I used to do we have a minute for this?
Yeah, yeah, we do.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so students in residential placement, sexually, physically abused students, they come into placement. I did the evaluations on the students. I would have a write essay. I would tell the students, I need to get a writing sample from you. I'd like to write what you would wish for, if you could wish for anything for yourself when you become 21. And I put them together in a book. Most of them are verbatim, with a little translation on the back because they spell it on the bottom. Because their spelling is so bad. And they want work. They want a job. It's amazing that they all want work. None of them want to be in the system. They all want a job. They all want to be independent. They all want to be participating members of society. So there's a lot of things that they wish for. But that comes out the most strongly. I want to work. I want a job.
Wow.
And I think that's very telling.
And that book is also on Amazon. I'm looking at that one right now. So that's very interesting. I love the way you approached the students so you could get that specific answer.
Yeah, it was interesting, and the students, they kind of they responded very positively to this. I would say, we're gonna take a look at this down the road. We're gonna reevaluate what you wish for, and we're gonna work with trying to get you get you to achieve some of your goals. Especially we're going to take a look at your goals, and if we can work together to get you a job, to get you work, we're going to do our best to do it.
Yeah. We were talking earlier to a different guest, and he was a leadership coach, and he was talking about how the ability to articulate and have command of the language is very important for not only for being a leader, but just for having a good job. And I think you might find that also probably with your students is that they have that skill yet to be developed.
Well, it's interesting you say that because one of the things I talk about in social studies curriculum is student government, and I've had a lot of experience working with student government. And the students who would be the representatives of their class, we would have leadership training, and I would work with them on developing speaking and listening skills. And how do you assess an audience? When do you pause? Articulate complete sentences. Certain vocabulary that you would use. And leadership training is extremely important. And that's another thing that doesn't get noticed. I think if you're a good teacher, and when you first brought up, is you have different students. So if you have a class, especially in the elementary grades before they were all departmentalized, you get to see which is a good worker, which is the kid I'm going to trust to go to the office. And I would ask the students that when I did student government, who, if you had to take something to your mother in the city, who in this class would you pick to take that package?
There you
go. That's a good one.
You don't have to say it out loud.
Yeah.
And then, would you like to be the student trusted to take that package?
That's absolutely.
You see them all thinking.
Sure.
And all of a sudden they stop and they start thinking.
Yeah.
So we need to suss out which kids are going to be good mechanics, which are going to be poets, which are going to be leaders or I wouldn't use the word leader. I would use the word representative because it takes in public service. You want to be of service to your community. And the kids a lot of the kids really do want to work for their community.
Yeah.
And do public service. So we're not tapping that. We're not tapping those kids. We're not finding out which ones they are and putting them to work.
Well, I think the whole country needs this. I don't think that we're all that different in Florida from what you're doing up in New York.
No, we're not.
And I'm sure everywhere. Louis, thank you for what you're doing. I think you have a grasp on what needs to be done, and I think it's a great contribution to put it into a book, so the rest of us, especially those in education, will be able to tap into what you've learned. I did find the book on Amazon finally, and yes, it will be. They will ask you if you would rather have the spelling you asked for instead. So yeah, so you have to do that. Louis, I thank you for what you're doing. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you for having me, and you as well.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Monday will be a nice day with clouds and some sun. There can be a shower in spots along the coast during the afternoon hours. The high 77 at the coast, 81 inland. Partly cloudy Monday night, mid to upper 50s and some cooler inland spots, mid 60s along the coast. Intervals of clouds and sun on Tuesday. There can be a shower or thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon along the coast, the high 76 to 80. Wednesday, partly sunny, high 74 to 78. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
$99 is all. $99 is all. Take this down and pass it around. $99 is all.
What?
The special, Robin, from Optical Outlets. Just $99 for 2 pair of no-line progressive bifocals and an eye exam.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, 2 pair of no-line progressive bifocals and eye exam from Optical Outlets. We need to tell all our listeners about Optical